Hello everyone, Equipment War here, and welcome to my build guide slash gameplay of my Rightness Fire Marauder. I'm first gonna explain the passive skill tree, the items and the gems, and then we're going to play a high level map with this character. So let's get started by taking a look at my passive skill tree. Starting as a Marauder, I went for the life in the beginning, and a very important thing for Rightness Fire build is to have as high life as you can. And life regeneration is also really important. So I went for Warrior's Blood, Heart of Warrior. I'm going to take this one later when I'm leveling up. I have Armor Mastery for some life regeneration and armor. I have Juggernaut. I went down here. I have Unraveling Stance, again don't get stunned. And I'm going to talk more about this one later when I talk about my items. And I have Bloodless. I have a Yule Socket here, and what you want for Yules, you want life on all of your Yules, increased life. And then you want either increased fire damage, increased burn damage, or increased damage over time. I have Barbarism, a very important note, a must have one, because it increases your maximum fire resistance, which is really important. It also gives you a ton of life. I have Arsonant, whatever this one is called. It increases my fire damage and gives me a good boost to my life regeneration. I have Tireless. Combat stamina for some life regeneration and some maximum mana, maximum life, sorry, and some armor, which is quite nice. I have another Yule Socket here. Again, this one have damage over time and life. I have the big life wheel here. I went up to the temple area. I took Serenity, Discipline and Training, Elementalist, and Amplify. If you really want some little bit extra area effect, you can take this area effect note here, but in my opinion it is not really worth it because it's just a small amount increase to your AoE. I have another Yule Socket here. Again, this one has damage over time and life. And I have Devotion. Let's move on. I have a Shepherd. I have Elemental Equilibrium. More about this one later. I'm gonna explain some things. I have another Yule Socket here. Again, damage over time and life. I have Quick Recovery. And here you have a choice. You can go a more mana based build. So if you're stacking a lot of mana on your gear, you can take Mind Over Matter and take Inspiration to get a ton of try to get a ton of mana, because Mind Over Matter works with Rightness Fire. So if you want, you can take this one and then stack a bunch of mana on your gear and as much mana regeneration as you can. But I don't have it in this build. I have Elemental Overload. I'm going to talk more about this one later as well. I have another Yule Socket here. Again, damage over time and some life. And I have Whispers of Doom, and I went for the Curse effect side. And if you want to save some points, you can take the Curse cast speed, but it offers you nothing. This one increases the power of your curse. And Whispers of Doom allows me to double curse enemies, which is really important in this build. I have Holy Fire for some big amount of damage for your burning damage and increased fire damage, and also some chance to ignite, which I don't really need. And I don't have Avatar Fire, and I'm gonna talk more about this later, why you don't want Avatar Fire. Avatar Fire basically destroys your Elemental Equilibrium, so don't use Avatar Fire. I have Serenity, and I have Purity of Flesh. Let's take a look at my Ascendancy tree. I went for the Chieftain. Then I start by taking the Life Regeneration, Endurance Restoration here. I have Tukahama Forest Strength. I can't really pronounce it, but you can see it. And I have Rukami Sun's Light, whatever this one is called, but it increases my life regeneration, a ton of fire resistance, and also 2% of life regeneration when I take fire damage, and 10% of physical damage from heat is taken as fire damage. So physical damage will increase my life regeneration, and I'm much more tankier. I'm more tanky against physical damage with this one. Then I went for Nakahama's Flame Advance, whatever this one is called, and I have whatever this Death Fury, whatever it's called. It increases my strength. Is more or less the more important thing in this one, because it gives me a small amount of increase to my life. And for the bandits, I went to help Oak in the beginning, so I get the 1% life regeneration. But you can also kill all of them and take the passive 2 passive skill points. They are also possible to play this character as something else which are not a chieftain. You can go for a berserker if you want more damage, or a juggernaut if you want to be even more tanky. I went for the chieftain because the life regeneration. So, let's take a look at my items. If you have any questions about my skill tree, please let me know. I'm gonna start by talking about my weapon. I'm currently using Doriani's Catalyst. It's a quite good weapon, it's quite inexpensive, and it offers me a lot of elemental damage. But you can use whatever wand, dagger or scepter you want. Just try to get increased elemental damage, or increased fire damage, or increased burning damage, or damage over time. But do not get a weapon which have added fire damage to spells, because that will ruin your elemental equilibrium. For my helmet, just a defensive helmet, life and resistance, and try to get as high life as possible, because life is your damage as well. For my rings and amulets, this one is a quite decent ring. It offers me a lot of life. It could have some increased fire damage, so if you can afford it, try to get some increased fire damage as well, and the resistance you might need. This ring here is an opal ring, and this could also be an opal ring. But opal rings are relatively expensive, and this one in particular is a quite expensive ring, and it was actually a gift from a friend. And something like this will cost a lot, but this one offers me a lot of damage. You can see it have a lot of increased fire damage and the elemental damage on top of that, so that's a lot of increased damage. They also have some resistance and a small amount of life, and also some intelligence. But you don't have to have an expensive ring like this. You can go for something similar to this one, just to have the right resistance and life. For my gloves, again, life and resistance, and again, try to get as high life as you can. For my belt, just get a high life leather belt. A belt like this is not that very expensive. And try to get some armor on it as well, and the resistance you might need, and as high life as possible. For my boots, and here is what I'm going to talk a little bit about the unwavering stance. I'm using these pair of boots here because they have movement speed and the resistance, and also a decent amount of life. A good option to this one is to use Calm's Root. You can see it on screen right now, which can have a good amount of life on it, a lot more life than these pair of boots have. And also give you the unwavering stance, so if you have Calm's Root, you don't have to have unwavering stance, you can just take it away. But Calm's Root have a negative that they don't offer you any movement speed, and they don't have any resistance, so it's a choice you have to make. For my armor, I'm using Calm's Heart, for the massive amount of life it gives, and also increases my fire damage, which is quite nice. And it have no sockets, but I don't need the sockets on it, this one. When it comes to Calm's Heart, it's a relatively expensive armor, and there are a cheaper option. You can use, for example, Belly of the Beast. You can see it on screen right now. It too have a lot of life. Also give you some resistance, a quite nice armor. You don't need to have it 6 linked or even 5 linked, just get one. The cheap one you can get, and try to get as high increased life roll on it as possible. Another option is to use a rare armor, which have as high life as you can, maybe some resistance you need, and as good armor as you can. It's also a good option. When it comes to my amulet, I'm currently using this amulet here, and this one is nothing really that special. It increases my life, and it gives me some stats. But the important thing is it has 1+ to all maximum resistance, because it is a corrupted one. And you really want to have as high maximum resistance as possible. It is possible to have maximum resistance on other pieces of gear, but it becomes quite expensive if you're gonna try to get that. A really good option to this amulet here, you can see it on screen right now, I'm unfortunately not pronounce it. But that amulet will make your flammability free from mana cost, so you can free up a slot and have another aura on it, like for example using Vitality for even more protection and life regeneration, as an example. But that amulet is quite expensive, and it is very important that you get the Flammability one, because there are different versions of it which have different curses as their effect, and get the one which have Flammability, it says on the amulet. And let's take a look at my shield. I'm using Rise of the Phoenix, a pretty much must-have, and a Rightness Fire build. Then this Rise of the Phoenix I have right here, it's a legacy one, because it have 8 plus to maximum fire resistance. The non-legacy one, the one you can find right now, it only have 5 to maximum fire resistance. So just keep that in mind, but it's still a must-have and it's a really good item, and the new one actually have life as well. For my flask, I'm using Blood of Karuri, highly recommending, really good flask. I don't really know the price of it, but if you can, try to get one, it's a really good flask. I'm using a Bubbling Eternal Flask, which is more my panic flask. If I run low on life, I can just pop this one or 2 times and get a decent amount of life back. I also have a Witchfire Brew, you can roll with 2 if you want. It increases my damage over time and also give me a level 21 Despair Curse aura, but I only can use 2 curses at the same time to curse enemies, so that aura will not affect enemies, but I'm using it for the increased damage over time effect. And here another flask, this one with anti-bleeding. Always carry an anti-bleeding flask. You also have recovery when on low life, so when I get into low life I can pop this one as well and get a huge amount of life recovery. And I'm using a Quicksilver flask to move around fast and dodge attacks. And that's pretty much my items. If you have any questions about my item, please let me know. So let's talk about my skill gem. I'm gonna start with my Rightness Fire damage setup, which is Rightness Fire linked to Elemental Focus, Burning damage, and then when I'm clearing maps and want AoE, I'm using Increased Area of Effect. And when I'm fighting against bosses, I switch out Increased Area of Effect for Concentrated Effect. If you have a 5-linked setup, you can use all of these 5 simultaneously. For example, if you have a 5-linked Belly of the Beast or you have a 5-linked Rare Armor. For my auras, always use Purity of Fire, is the most important aura you have. And you can also use Val Purity of Fire, which will be even better. I'm using 2 curses linked to Blasphemy, and those 2 curses are Elemental Weakness and Flammability. They're both linked to Blasphemy, which make it into an aura, so you will automatically curse enemies that come close to you. And both Elemental Weakness and Flammability will stack with each other. If you have that unique amulet I talked about before, you can see it on screen right now. You can also use Vitality at the same time. Always leveling up on Vitality, you maybe need it in the early game. It also can be a good idea to use Vitality instead of some of your curses if survivability is more a priority over damage. I'm using 2 custom damage taken setup. The first one is a level 1 custom damage taken with Ice Nova, and I also have an Immortal Call for some protection against physical damage here and there. But this one, the reason I'm using Ice Nova, I guess I'm gonna show it on the skill tree now, because Elemental Equilibrium, so when Ice Nova is triggered, all of the enemies in my proximity will take cold damage, which will activate Elemental Equilibrium and make the resistance -50 to all other elements than the elements they get hit by, which means they get -50 to fire damage. And because of Rightness Fire do not trigger Elemental Equilibrium, it just burns enemies, it do not hitting them, it just applies damage over time. Which means that Elemental Equilibrium always will work when you're using Ice Nova. I also have another custom damage taken setup, which another custom damage taken with Ball Lightning. It's for the same effect, to activate Elemental Equilibrium to enemies that are more further away from me. And my Ball Lightning are linked to Greater Multiple Projectiles. Sorry. I also have a Leap Slam here, and I'm only using Leap Slam to get over obstacles if there are something in my way. The attack speed of my Leap Slam is very slow, so it's not my mobility skill. I'm just using it to get over obstacles. And you can use Shield Charge in this build if you want. And finally, I'm using an Orb of Storms together with increased critical strike chance. And again, let's go to my skill tree again. All of these skills, both Ice Nova and the Ball Lightning, have a chance to trigger Elemental Overload because they can crit. But I'm using Orb of Storms with an increased critical strike chance to make it even more plausible. It will also trigger my Elemental Equilibrium. So I just putting up an Orb of Storms when I see some bosses, and just here and there to try to get to crit and trigger my Elemental Overload. And that's pretty much my skill gems. If you have any questions about my skill gems, please let me know. So now I'm gonna go do a gameplay with this character. So I'm going to run this Plaza map here. It's not the most dangerous map in the world, but they have 2 unique bosses, so that could be some fun. So let's just run that and have some fun. And also, please tell me in the comment if you like this type of setup. When I'm first talking about the build, then I'm doing a gameplay after that. So let's see, run this map a little bit quicker. If I'm gonna be honest, I don't know the DPS on my Rightness Fire build, and I'm probably not playing my fastest now because, well, I'm not that type that's rushing things, and I want to actually pick up the currency, because who don't want currency, you know? And they are dropping some stuff here and there. So yeah, as I said, please tell me in the comment if you like this type of setup as I'm doing right now, when I first talk about the build, as I said, and then I having a full gameplay after that. Or do you like when I actually I'm actually what is that I'm trying to say now? When I'm actually talking about the build first, then I just show some clips when I'm beating some bosses and do some fun things and maps. So please let me know. Anyway, back to the gameplay. When I'm playing this character, you can see I'm putting up Orb of Storms here and there, and that's try to get as many crits as possible, and also to activate my Elemental Equilibrium and just take away the entire enemy's resistance. Also, one important thing to know, when it comes to map mods, one map mod are pretty much almost completely unplayable for you, and that is if you're playing a map which have no life regeneration. You can't play no life regeneration maps, but that is quite self-explanatory. Also, some map mods that can be hard, it is reduce the what I'm trying to say, life recovery, sorry. Sometimes I forget the words. And here we have the boss. And I have with this character, oh, I should actually have changed to, just gonna stay, I just need to change so I do even more damage. Alright, too much stuff happened right there. You can see I'm quite tanky, but the enemy here, the bosses here have extra life, so it takes some time to kill them. You can see I can just stand here and pretty much tank all of them. I don't want to take, well, play smart. It's just like my best advice. You can see here I can stand in this, but it's not really a good idea. So I should just take that away and continue standing here and do some damage to them. And as I said before, I don't know my DPS on this character. I don't know how to calculate that, so you have to guess. I just have to guess. I guess I have something around 200,000, but I don't really know. So if some of you can calculate the true DPS, well, I will be happy to hear it. Anyway, let's kill these bosses. It takes some time because, well, as I said, the enemy have extra life here, so it takes a little bit longer, and I should actually just go to safety. And where is it? Oh, there it is. So I can change and do some extra damage, because I need that damage. Oh yeah, tanking 2 of them at the same time, that's quite awesome if I can be honest. Look at that. Takes some damage, but isn't that bad actually. You like to teleport me around, don't you? Oh, here is another one. I didn't kill them that fast, but well, it was no problem doing it. And that's just a fast gameplay of this character. Tell me in the comment what you think about the character, about improvements maybe, and all of that fun stuff. Anyway, I thank you all for watching, and I see you guys soon.